Hi, good afternoon, every one of you. Hope you are well seated and you are enjoying yourself. So, this afternoon we'll be looking at less aspect of it because you can never tell what particular aspects that you'll be expecting the question. So that is why it's very important that you take cognizance of what of this content what that are here. You'll be examining via what Nigeria history, you'll be examining via what Africa history, you'll be examining via what sports, sport related what activities, then you'll be examining through what international what words. International word simply means that what European countries, the country outside where you reside. Even Africa country is also an international country. Let me put it that way. So you'll be examining basically some of the ideologies, some of the notable dates, some of the events that actually happen in all of these things. It's very, very important because I think the question is going to be 10 questions, and questions can come out from any of what of these what aspects. Do you get it? All right. So let's start with Nigeria. Now you understand that how before now there's nothing like what Nigeria for the art students. They will definitely know what I'm going to talk about. But for the case of for the science students, they may really not have the what in-depth understanding or knowledge of it. But be that as it may, that is why this class is very, very important and necessary. So how before what the word the country called what Nigeria, right? So it wasn't what Nigeria not until what 1914, if I'm not mistaken, 1940 or thereabouts. But we were formerly what colonized by what by Britain, right? So it was a Flora Shaw, right? Who gave the name what? The name Nigeria. I don't want to go to the pre-colonial administration. Then after the pre-colonial administration, you look at what colonial what administration. After the colonial administration, we now have what post-colonial what administration. Then we'll have the post-colonial administration. That is area that we are now. Under the pre-colonial administration, we have the three major pre-colonial administration what history. We had the Yoruba, we had the Igbo, we had the what the Hausa. Sorry, Hausa Fulani what were merged together. And there's a history behind why Hausa Fulani were merged what together, right? Now, the Hausa Fulani were merged together as a result of the fact that Ottoman Fodio, who fought jihad, which is also called what Holy War, then he conquered most kingdoms in what in the Hausas. So that suffices to mean that what the inferior what culture, right, overrides what the superior culture. So they were able to conquer most kingdom that has been ruled by the Hausas. So that is why it is now what merge what together. It's called what Hausa Fulani ethnic group, right? Now, and you need in the course of our classes, you now tend to know why Sokoto, the one you call Sokoto, why Sokoto is called what? The state of what? Of caliphate. The state of what? Of caliphate. And this caliphate was seat of what? Seat of power. Seat of what? Of power. Right? The seat of what? Of power. So in the course of our classes, we definitely will know that. And one thing I also want you to know that what? There is no how you are going to escape it. At least out of 100, 80% would definitely meet questions that will centers on. You need to know the name of what of each state governor in Nigeria. I mean the current one, right? You need to know it. So in the course of your work, of your weekly activities, you are already try as much as possible to Google to check. We have what 36 states in what in Nigeria, not 37. The Federal Capital Territory is not recognized as what as part of what the 36 states what in Nigeria. So it is what is not recognized as one of the states what in Nigeria. As it could have what 37, but currently we have what 36 states what in Nigeria, right? Now, You need to know each governor representing what each state in what in the federative what units. Now, another word for the federative units, let me not use some government terms here. Another word for federative units is also regards to our states. Now, let me come back here so that you know how this name came about. Now, this name came from what? From the two rivers that met, River Benue, River Niger. So it's called what? Florashore. That is what? In the first story building was in Nigeria at Badagry. That was where this name was given by what? By the woman of what? Of Lord Lugard, which is what? The lady of what? Of Lord Lugard, whose name was Florashore. He's studied the word the two river. From the two river, he said, let these people be called what? Niger area. From the word Niger area, we have the word what? Nigeria. Do you get it? Now, but before this name was Nigeria, we have had our pre-colonial administration. Pre-colonial administration simply means that what? We have a well-organized political structure, how the people administer, run their day-to-day government activities in the state. Take for instance, we have what? The king. The king is known as what? Alafin, right? Now, we have what? From the northern part of the state, we have what? The emir, right? Now, from the eastern part, there is a concept called Asafelos and Egalitarian World Society. Now, Asafelos and egalitarian world society means what? It's also called what? Classless world society. Classless society is that you cannot really attach that, oh, this is a particular ruler. You get it now? But they have what? Appointees among what? Member units that will come what? To the village square to come and have meeting, and they will discuss how the affair of what of the community is going to a pilot. So that is why that when you look at what the three concepts of what of government is that what the Igbo's pre-colonial administration is classified as classless or egalitarian what society. That means that what you cannot literally upon that this is a particular leader in that particular society. Then we talk about the in the Hausa Fulani pre-colonial administration, you look at the emir. I will say what the emir is what is authoritative in nature. Why is it called that is authoritative in nature? Is what is the head of the religion as well as what the head of what of government. So you get it now. Now, why the Yorubas is seen as what partially what Democrats what in nature, because the three organs of government that we have now, the legislative, the executive, and the judiciary are well structured, inherent in Yoruba political structure as are then. You get it now. So there's a system of what we call open or calabash or shigbafu oba. Now in the Yoruba pre-colonial administration, if the king contravenes the rules of the land, you get it now. They can open calabash. That is going shigbafu oba. They can open the calabash. So opening the calabash is tantamount of the king committing suicide, or the king can be sent on an exile. Now, when you want to bring this down to this our contemporary modern political structure that we have in these current days, it is called what? Impeachment. So that means that the National House of Assembly, the National House of Assembly. I'll still explain this. What I mean by what? The National House of Assembly. The National House of Assembly, right? Now, the National House of Assembly simply means that one, the Senate House, right? The Senate House, and two? The House of what? The House of Representative. I will still explain this, but okay, these two houses, it is called what? The National House of Assembly. And that is why in government, it is called bicameral, right? Bicameral or bicameralism. That means that at the federal, we have two houses responsible for lawmaking. But if not getting here, I just want to draw a synergy a comparison between what is inherent in what in the Yoruba pre-political administration and what is inherent in our current days of modernity. In order for you to say that, in order for you to show that when I talk about that in the pre-colonial of of Yoruba society, that they can open calabash to the king or send the king or what on exile. So it's also that when the two joint houses come together and impeach what the president is the leader of executive arm or what of government, right? Now, when these two houses come together, it's called the National House of Assembly, and they impeach what the government is also close to what the Yoruba practiced before the advent of what of colonization. Now, under the colonialism, but let me briefly explain. All right. So before I move further to colonial administration, do you get it now? I'm not giving you detail. I'm just patching it. So do you have any question? If you have any question, you can kindly ask before I move further. Is anyone with a question or questions? Yeah, with a question?
Okay, yes, sir. I have a question.
All right.
Okay, what year did Mary Flora Shaw give the name Nigeria?
Okay, the year that Flora Shaw named Nigeria, right?
Yes.
I don't have the record to be precise, right? But I think it should fall within around 90. I can't get the date precisely now. Sorry, I can't get the date precisely now. Is there any other question?
Excuse me. Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm with you.
Sir, please, I said you said something about Flora Shaw. You said she was with a guy.
Yes, God.
Oh, okay, thank you, sir.
Ask your question.
Excuse me, sir.
That's my question.
What you say?
Said something about the Holy War.
Colony, right?
Holy War.
Holy War. Okay, yes, by Ottoman Danfodio. Yes.
Sir, can you write it on the board? I just need the name.
Plaza.
Ottoman. That is UT Dan Podio.
Okay,
you
sir,
see it?
Sir. Yes, sir.
You're welcome. Any other question? Before the end of the class, I'll get that question of the exact year that the name Nigeria was, that Flora Shaw named Nigeria. That is the first. It was done at the 4-story building in Badagry. The story building is still there now, up to date. That the 4-story building was in Nigeria. That was where the name Nigeria was actually. But before the end of the class, I'll get the data across to you. If not now, but later, please. So any other question before I move forward?
Sorry, sir. So you said Nigeria got their name in 1914. I don't understand. Which other year are you trying to get?
No, I never said that it was 1914.
The 1914. What is it meant for? Like, what happened?
Okay, 1940. What happened in 1940 was that the northern and the southern and the northern parts, which is called potatoes, were amalgamated. Are you getting it now? That actually happened in Nigeria, and that is where the name, and that's where Nigeria was giving birth. And if you look one of the years it was in Obafemi Awolowo posted that Nigeria will be celebrating her centenary anniversary when it was given birth. In what year? We have what? 2014, 2013, 2060. Do you get it now? But the correct answer is what? Is 2014. Because 100 years makes what? A century. Do you get it now? Are you with me?
Yes,
Hello?
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay, now that is to also say that if you are asked a question that when will Nigeria celebrate her centenary anniversary when she got independent, what year would it not be?
Sir?
If you are asked a question that when will Nigeria celebrate her 100 years of her independence, when would it not be?
it will be the year 2014. That was when
No.
they celebrated.
No,
But
that means that you don't. Huh?
1914.
100
Let me
years.
write it. Let me break it down. Let me break it down.
Wait.
You will get it. You will get it. Just
If you
calm
are
down.
saying
You will get it.
independence, is it from 1960?
Don't worry.
If you're
You
talking
get
about
it now.
independence,
Wait. You will get it. Let me write it out. In 1914, right? 1914. Now, the southern part and the northern part of Nigeria were joined together, right?
Yes.
This
Yes, sir.
that's what for amalgamation, right? Were joined
Yes,
together in 1914, right? Now, the question is now that and we said that 100 years, right? 100 years make what? Make a century. Make a century. Now, to ask this question, I said that what? When will Nigeria celebrated her centenary anniversary for amalgamation in what year? We now have what? A to what will be 2014, then B to what will be 2060, then C to what will be 2013, then D to what will be 2040. What is now the answer here?
$2014, sir.
Huh?
Hey,
2014. Wait, it's 2014.
Correct, 2014, which is this, right? Now,
yes, sir.
Nigeria had her independence in what year?
1960.
1960.
Again?
1960.
1960.
Yes, 1960.
Six.
This is when we got our independence. 3 years after Ghana. 3 years after Ghana had their independence, right? So you just minus 3
Yes,
from
sir.
here. Then you definitely get the exact year that Ghana had their independence. I don't want to go into Ghana now. So where will Nigeria will be celebrating her centenary anniversary for independence? What year will it now be? If you come across such question.
2060.
2016.
See that there's no magic in this now. So, but you should pay attention to the question. The difference between amalgamation and independence. Please get it. Amalgamation
Sorry,
is
sir,
that what?
please, can you come again for the last part?
Can I what?
Can you come again? I didn't really hear what you said.
All right. I say you should know the difference between amalgamation and independence. Our amalgamation occurred in the year 1914, which is this, right? And 1914 to 2014 is 100 years, right? Now, when we want to answer this question in another form again, that Nigeria celebrates her independence, and when will Nigeria celebrate her centenary independence? It will not be in 2060. That means that we got our independence in 2060. Then the centenary, when Nigeria will complete 100 years, it will be in 2060. So this would not be the correct answer. But what I'm not trying to say in essence is that you should try as much as possible. Pay attention to the question. Know the difference between amalgamation and independence. Amalgamation is attached to what, to 1914, while independence is attached to what, to 1960.
16. Okay.
Is that clear? Okay. Sorry, is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So let me quickly, before the time is on, let me quickly run through what the colonial administration. Now, under the colonial administration, we are being ruled by what? By governor general. We are being ruled what? By governors. By governors. But before I come down to this, you need to understand what actually led to colonization, right? Now, there was a conference that was held in 1884, which is called what? The Berlin what? The Berlin Conference. This Berlin is what? Is capital what? Of Germany. And Germany, okay, listen now, please listen up. Germany used the way we use president in what? In Nigeria, right? In Nigeria, right? In Nigeria, we use what? President, right? That is number one citizen of what? Of Nigeria. Why in Germany, right? Why in Germany? Germany used what? Vice what? Chancellor. Please get it. Germany, your vice chancellor. So when I say the vice chancellor of Germany is meeting with what? With the president of what? Of Nigeria. Don't think that what is a vice chancellor of what? Of an institution, no. Or a provost of an institution, no. Do you get it now? It is what? It is what they address as what? As president, what? In Germany is what? Is vice chancellor. Do you get that now? Have you moved there or there? See? Okay. So it's called a vice chancellor. So now there was what? There was conference that was held in what? In 1884, December 1884 and 1885 on how Africa country should be partitioned. What do you mean by partition? Partition means what? Division, right? And why is the essence of what of the colonization is as a result of the fact that most of the natural resources that these people are using what to build their state are being gotten from Africa. So these white people were now fighting on our natural resources. So in order for them to resolve this conflict of fighting over African natural resources, they now have to call a conference on December 1984 to 1985 that states on how they will partition, how they will divide how they will divide African country, that each of what the colonies can head their can rule and can rule, administer their culture, their language, or whatsoever, or on the states that they will be given to them. But it's also pathetic that non-African leaders were at this conference that was held to take decisive decision in their lifetime. And this was still legal down to what we have today. And that is why I can hardly even speak to you English. Instead of me to conveniently be speaking to you in Yoruba, but just on the level ground. So what am I saying in essence? Is that this was a root cause of colonization. This conference served as a root cause of colonization, and the vice chancellor of Germany as there is Otto von Bismarck. Otto von Bismarck was the vice chancellor as at this period when this conference was held. And about 5 or 7 countries were given to Britain to colonize, which Nigeria was part of that country, right? So, and that was why the first British flag that was hosted in Nigeria was our Royal Niger Company. Royal Niger Company. This was the first place that British flag was first hosted in Nigeria. Are you getting it? So when they came, their first access is to Lagos. But before this time, the first people that actually had access to Africa, were the Portuguese merchandise. They were in the Islamic Portuguese merchandise. Do you get now? But our question will not cover all these aspects. So that's why I'm just trying to streamline where the questions will definitely be asked. But just know that it were not what the European, that four of us had access to Africa. The first set of people that have access to Africa, according to history, were the Portuguese merchandise, Islamic Portuguese merchandise, were the first set of people that actually had access to to Africa, and they were into buying and selling from the merchant. So you know when talk merchant and merchandise, right? They are into buying and use of indirect system. Indirect rule system simply means that you are using the indigenous people to rule themselves. You get now the act of you're using the indigenous people to rule themselves, and that is why this one led to Aba Women riot of 1929, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Aba Women riot of 1920 Is it 29 or 23 thereabouts? But I know 1920. I check it. Of 90, yes, 90 you can check it on of 1920 and 1929 about Women riot of 1929, where the warrant chief were when the British government imposed the warrant chief on the women that they should be paying tax, and the women stood up and revolted against it. And one of the leading women that actually voted against this ill policy of the British is Margaret Echo. Margaret Echo was the leading leader of the protests that happened in 1929. So moving on from there, so we have the British came and rule, and the rule of governors. So I don't want to go into the section of the constitutions. No problem. I'll definitely have the. I don't want to go into the section of the constitution, but basically we have had several British governors that rule in Nigeria. Do you get it now? But let me just shorten it down to where we now have the Nigeria state. The Nigeria as a state. Nigeria as a state. Now, state used in this context does not mean Lagos State, does not mean Ogun State. It simply means that a state as a country. Please get that. Now, Nigeria as a state is divided into federal, right? Into federal, into states, right? Into state, and into local governments. Now, at the federal level, right? At the federal level, we have organs of government at the federal level, which will have the executive, right? We have the legislative, right? Then we have the judiciary. Now, the executive is shadowed with the responsibility of executing the law from the name they are shadowed with the responsibility of executing the law. While the legislative, they are shadowed with the responsibility of making of law. Why the judiciary was shadowed with the responsibility of they are shadowed with the responsibility of interpreting the law. Are you getting it now? Now, one thing that you need to know here, again, that's very paramount, that the head of the executive, right, is always the president. The president of the state is the head of executive. E.g., in Nigeria, the current head of executive in Nigeria is Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Do you get now? He is the head of executive in Nigeria. Now, let me expatiate this executive further. The executive also have some other principal officers that actually work with him, who are called ministers. Please try as much as possible to know all the names of Nigerian ministers and their portfolio. Portfolio means Office. You get it now? Portfolio means Office. Now, the people that work directly with the presidents are called ministers. It's not ministers in your church or your choir. No, they are not talking about that. And let me also tell you, under state, if the minister is to the federal, is to the federal. Under state, it is called commissioner. The commissioner will directly work with the governors of the states. Are you getting now? Now, the president will appoint the ministers, right? At the ratification, the ratification also means was screening. At the screening of what? Of the legislative arms of what? Of government. Are you getting it now? Then lastly, before I drop my pen, under this minister, right? You need to understand difference between minister for and minister of. Please, it's very, very key. It normally comes out with your question. This I'm writing now normally comes out your question. When you say Minister of Education and Minister for Education. Now, these two ministers are both ministers at what? At the federal what? At the federal level, right? Now, what you should be looking at when you Minister of or Minister for Education or whatsoever, you'll be looking at this word, right? Now, the name of Minister of Education is different from Minister for Education. Why this is the principal officer, this person work under what? Under the principal what? Officers. Do you get now? This Minister for Education work under what? Minister of Education. Minister of Education is number one. Why the number two that has a command to what? To Minister of Education is Minister for Education. Please get that. Get that. And the next class, I will ask you for the current minister of and the current minister for education. You need to hold it tight. Now, so also under what? Under petroleum, because there are some ministerial posts that have what? Two offices. Under petroleum, we have Minister of Petroleum, we have Minister for Petroleum. Now, quick one, in the last administration is former president of Nigeria, which is Muhammadu Buhari, yes, for his 8 times what? For his 8 times he was in office, he was the Minister of Petroleum. And this Jagaban, sorry, we are in class. Let me use his former name. His Excellency, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Do you get it now? He's also the current Minister of. Now, you now need to know what the Minister for Petroleum under what? Under this current what? Administration. So, I will draw the curtain. Please, you have any question? Let me just use the remaining minutes to give answers to your question before we move down to legislative or we have time for question. All right. So that is one thing that you also need to one thing that you need to know under what? Under the executive arm. So the president appoints the ministers and the ratification or the screening of what? Of the legislative arm. So and the government, that is called check and balances. But of course, there's a place of veto power. But I don't want to discuss that veto power now. There's a place of veto power, but I would like to want to discuss that veto power because of our time. Now, quick one, under the legislative. Question, right? Okay. Please, you have question. Ask from what we've discussed so far. Please, you have question. Or move them. They should ask their question. In the absence of what? Of no questions. Now, let me just recap all we said. You need to know how the name of Nigeria was emerged, and which is what is all true of Flora Shaw. Then the colonial what era that happened what in Nigeria. Then thereafter, okay, the name when the Nigerian name was named is January 8, 1897. January 8th, 1897. So that was where the name Nigeria was given. January 8th, 1897. So when Nigeria were amalgamated, and Nigeria got her amalgamation under Lord Lugard in 1914. Please, you know that. And I said that the head of of the executive. The head of the executive was the president. I would love to just go to the legislative. The legislative is what? Is the Senate, is the Senate president. And you need to tell me, okay, do you have time? I will have asked that, who is the current Senate president of Nigeria? Huh? All right. That will be in the next class. So, president, and under this legislative arm, right, is divided what? Into two, right? We have what? The Senate and the House of what? Representative. Then our next class, we'll look at numbers of representatives that make up the Senate and numbers of representatives that make up this House of what? House of Representative, right? So it is these two houses that is called the National House of Assembly, and it's on the basis of these two houses that is called bicameralism. So thank you very much. See you next week.